Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me for Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I am your host, Dr. Angela Butchester. You know what I like to do on the show. I want to enlighten you. I want to inspire you. I want to empower you to become your best self. Now, Scripture reminds us that the tongue is a small thing that makes grand speeches, but a tiny spark can set a great forest on fire. And today we want you fired up about my guest. I will be speaking with MD and author Fred Hardwicke today, and we're talking about his book, The Puzzle of Gospel Harmony. So go get comfy, get cozy, get your coffee or get your tea, because we are about to get started. Hello, Dr. Fred. Thank you so much for joining me today on Daily Spark with Dr. Angela.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being on the show. Now, I cannot wait to talk to you about your book, but we always give our authors an opportunity to introduce themselves to perhaps those few people out there that may be unfamiliar with you or your work. So first question to you is, what makes you you? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I grew up in a Christian family, became a Christian at an early age, and I've been a student of the Bible, but of course I also make a living. I went through medical school and then additional training to become an oncologist as a cancer doctor, and I've been working for decades actually in that role, either in private practice or in academic teaching environment.
Well, as a breast cancer survivor, I have to say my oncology team was amazing. So thank you for going into that field and for all that you and your fellow oncologists do to make sure that we are well. So thank you for that. Now, being an author, is that something that you've always wanted to do, or did you find that life presented you with an opportunity, with information, and you said, I need to get this out to the masses?
Well, the first time I published was a kind of a completely unexpected midlife crisis where my son and I got lost in the New Mexico mountains. And I decided I wanted to write it down. So that story is still out there on Amazon. It's called A Pecos Adventure. But I guess since then I've had inclinations toward writing, and in the last decade, thinking a lot more about the Gospels in particular.
Now, the title of your book, The Puzzle of Gospel Harmony, I have to say that is a curious title. I know someone's going to say, The Puzzle of the Gospel, I like it. But wait a minute, there's harmony. What is this? Is this music, or is this just how they blend together? Curious title. How did you come about the title, Dr. Fred?
Well, I had thought, of course, having a musical bent about gospel harmony as in music, but I thought that although it could possibly be interpreted that way, that people have for centuries been trying to figure out how to put these four accounts together and make sense of the way that they were arranged by the authors.
And you are so right, because we do get a lot of that from a ministry perspective, where people say, well, I thought this person said that happened, or this person was there as well, but their story is slightly different. why that difference. So I can see how addressing how that can be harmonious is so important. Now, when it comes to the proper way to read your book, many authors will put it together in a way where you should read it cover from cover, simply meaning page after page. Others do it per chapter or per section, meaning you should really take in that chapter or section before moving on to the next. But then there's devotionals, where you read, a few pages at a time, put it down, digest that before moving on. Did you construct the book in such a way where there's a best way to utilize it, or is it pretty much open to each reader?
Well, it's probably open to each reader. My wife likes to read the last chapter first, but there is one section in particular. I always encourage people to look at the table of contents, but where I list Matthew's top 10, Mark's top 10. These are 10 verses or passages that are unique to each gospel. And this is a very devotional section, and some people may just want to look at those for information before they, or inspiration before they, dive into, some of the technical aspects of harmonizing the Gospels. But it's also appropriate for people just to start on the first page and just read it directly through, because everything is kind of building on the other as you try to put the puzzle together.
And that is the exact reason why I always ask my guests, what's the best way to read it? Because I know many people that say, yep, I go to the last page first and see, what it says there before I turn to the first page. And for some books, that's perfectly all right. And then for others, I remember one author said, you will be more confused if you read the last page first. Please don't. I kind of did that on purpose. So you would go, what? So read the first page first. So I love how each author has their own way of putting their personality in there. So that's awesome. Now, who would you say is the ideal reader for the book? Who did you write the book for? Is your book most appropriate for those who are already in the faith to kind of help spark new conversation? Is it okay for someone brand new to the faith? Or is that part unimportant? It's simply for the person who wants to dive deeper into the Gospels.
Yeah, I would say in terms of age category that probably most people, junior high or less, this is not really the book for them, just because they haven't reached a better sense of, maturity in their language and understanding. But primarily it is written to people who already believe. That's fine with me if seekers and skeptics are wanting to look in. I think that there are things about the work that is actually, in some senses, evangelistic, reaching out to people who don't believe. But I think that people that are fairly serious about studying the life of Jesus, that these questions come up, and rather than having people just develop a whole lot of doubts because they haven't, figured it out. Some puzzles are just more difficult than others,
right.
And this is one of them. And I think that I do solve some of the difficulties that people do encounter.
I love it. Now, Dr. Furt, how did you first become interested in gospel harmonization. How did that happen for you? I know many authors will say there was a prompting, there was a nudge. Someone said, "Hey, read this book or check out this seminar," or there was something in one's personal life that really was the catalyst for not only the discovery of, but also the research, and then therefore the sharing of what you've learned.
Yes. Back in the pre-computer age, when I was in medical school, my problem was I actually knew a lot of gospel stories, but didn't know where to find them. And so I did a sort of my own little gospel harmonization listing of things, just because I wanted to be better with references and being able to find what I wanted when I wanted it. And then just shortly after I got married, it's about 28 years ago, I actually came across something that I ordered. It was a gospel harmonization book, which was mostly good, but then it didn't tell me sometimes why they made some of the choices that they made, and it still left me with some pretty big questions. So it's particularly over the last 10 years, a lot of Luke studying, and as well as the other Gospels, that just kind of brought this back again. This whole idea of harmonizing, where do things fit in, and so yeah, it's been a lot of work to try to put some of this together.
Now, would you say that gospel harmonization is just for people who go to seminary, that the concept and understanding what it truly means, that is for someone who's willing to have put the time in as far as education is concerned? Or is the layperson able to understand and follow along as well?
Right, and certainly I encourage people that want to go to seminary. Yes, it's a good place to learn, but a lot of people will be teaching Bible studies or teaching their children or something that will have never been to seminary, and this is something that they can have as a resource, because these questions do come up, and it helps to understand that each gospel writer had his own purpose, his own mission, and yes, at the end of the day, things do harmonize. So I think that it's good for many people to learn more about it.
And I think that you're definitely saying something that's really important there, and that is if we read each of the Gospels, we find that of course I don't want to say of course, that they do harmonize. Because if we think about our own relationship with our friends, right? We can all see a particular event happen, and each person will tell it according to their personality, according to their particular point of view. This person maybe have been in front of, the other was behind or beside or across the street or whatever it is. But you're each telling your truth from the way in which you have experienced it. So I love that you bring that point up for others. Well, Dr. Fred, it is time for us to go to break. But before you do, can you please remind everyone, what is the title of your book, where can we get a copy, and how do we stay in contact with you?
Yes, The Puzzle of Gospel Harmony at Amazon or wherever books are sold. And I have an email, Hardwicke, with an E on the end, at childresshospital.com.
Alrighty, everyone. Now you know where you can get a copy of the book. We'll be back right after this. And we are back. Thank you so much for joining me for Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I'm your host, Dr. Angela Butchester. My guest today is Dr. and author Fred Hardwicke, and I am talking to him about his book, The Puzzle of Gospel Harmony. Now, Dr. Fred, the next question I have for you is about non-believers or skeptics, as many would call them. Why do they tend to have a problem with the story of Jesus and the research that you have found in your discoveries? Why is there such an issue there?
Well, I think there's three basic things. First of all, is the nature of non-belief to have what we call a naturalistic view of the world, that is, no miracles. And I did have an opportunity once to actually see one of the Thomas Jefferson New Testaments. And yes, that if you try to whack out things out of the New Testament and have miracles, you're talking about a lot of important stories. And then beyond that, there are some that find themselves bothered, by the way that Jesus confronts people and challenges people, and it's a type of love that they're just not familiar with. Jesus operated out of love. We tend to think sometimes that loving people means to leave them alone. But then the third thing is this whole thing with harmonization. If they want to get into an argument or something, they will bring one or another of these questions up, which some of them are more legitimate than others. But yes, that's the third area of problem they have with the life of Jesus in the Gospels, is that they're not agreeing, or they think they're not agreeing.
So we understand that Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the four Gospels of the New Testament, and each bring their own particular point of view, and again, like I said, their personality and their understanding of the revelation of who Jesus is and who God is to man. Now, with that being said, you mentioned that Matthew is the hardest gospel to harmonize. Why do you feel that way?
Well, I'll just go straight to it. If you just stop and look, you'll see two Sabbath accounts back to back at the end of Mark 2 and the beginning of Mark 3, and you find the same ones in Matthew, but they're in chapter 12. So, in Matthew, like in the middle of the book, and Mark, it's right up very close to the first. And when I first saw that, I just kind of shrieked. It's like, how do you resolve one like this? But it's actually a very clever thing with Matthew, that Matthew actually, at the first 11 chapters, I believe, is a special introduction for the Jewish reader, to help them understand that Jesus is the Messiah. And he recognized that the Sabbath question was going to be a big question up front, so he just kind of postponed it, gave people enough meat to understand that, yes, Jesus looks like he is the Messiah, and then he proceeds to deal with some of the more challenging questions in chapter 12.
Hmm. Now, I want to ask something that's a little bit different, and that is your personal perspective of what you have presented for the world to read in your book. Why do you like your book? I know that sometimes an author will say, well, what I like most is that I challenge the reader, or I motivate and inspire the reader. Others will say that I simply had to tell my story so that others would know that they too can succeed or grow or whatever they're trying to portray there. So that's kind of my question to you. What do you like most about your book?
You know, I've written some various things about different things that sometimes never gone to publishing. I know that some people might think I'm a perfectionist. I don't think I am, but I'm somewhat that way. So there's a difference in my mind between what I consider a good book and a great book. And I really think this is a great book because it really is very nicely organized, and I think it enables people to really read through, learn the process, and understand why I think that the Gospels fit in a certain way that they do. And so in that sense, I think this is not a book I wrote for me. It's a book I wrote for other people to learn some of the things that I have learned.
Now, I want to ask about a scripture that perhaps may keep you motivated. I know that many of the authors that I talk with have a life verse. I've shared with my listeners that Jeremiah 29:11 is my life verse. Helped me greatly dealing with my bout with breast cancer. Do you happen to have a favorite passage, or is there one that when you hear it, it tends to bring a smile to your face, or it makes you feel more harmonious?
Well, that's a good question, and sometimes it varies according to the week that I'm going through. I have various psalms that are encouragements to me. Psalm 23, Psalm 25, Psalm 46, Psalm 121. But within the Gospels, some of the things that other people are drawn to, I'm also drawn to. The Nicodemus and John 3:16 passage, the walk to Emmaus, the Good Samaritan, the prodigal son. But one of the ones that has really impressed on me is I've been thinking about Jesus and his full expression of human love is the passage in Luke 19, verses 41 through 44, about how he wept over the city of Jerusalem. There's just something very emotional to me when I see that in print. It's really grabs me.
And you're right. I think that for many people, they will say something quite similar in that it depends on what's going on that day or that week, or where you are in your own headspace, and a particular scripture can definitely be more appropriate at a particular time. You are so right there. Now, I want to ask, we have about 5 minutes left, but I want to ask you about being a medical missionary. I know that many of those in the medical field will say, well, I want to spend a time with, Doctors Without Borders, or I want to give my time on the Mercy Ship, or things that are similar to that. Have you ever thought about doing some type of missionary work in the medical field as well?
Well, yes. In fact, there was a time in my past, toward the end of my college years and just entering medical school, where I really had a sense, that I would be going to another country, like as a missionary doctor, and well, as well as I do, that there's places in the world that are so tremendously underserved. But as time went on, and I actually did go on a Christmas break trip down into the heart of Mexico, and yes, there were things that I appreciated about that, but if we're looking for some sort of special call from God or that sort of thing, I don't think it really grabbed me. So that didn't come until the third year of medical school, where when I moved into seeing patients and spending time with the hematology oncology service, it just something seemed to click. And I know for other people that would be exactly the type of doctor they wouldn't want to be. But enough so that I went that direction, and I've come to find out, as you have and others, that God can use you wherever you are with the people that are around you. And so yes, I've been a doctor, but I've also been involved in 2 church plants in West Texas, and I've had chances to preach at several different churches along the way, even though I like I say, have not been formally to seminary. And so yes, God can use you wherever you are, and He may still bring me over to a foreign country. I don't know, but at least right now He's got a place for me right now.
Right. So. Absolutely. Well, Dr. Fred, thank you so much for spending time with me here today. We are out of time, but before I let you go, can you remind everyone, please, what is the title of your book, where can we get a copy, and how do we stay in contact with you?
Yes, it is The Puzzle of Gospel Harmony. It is on Amazon, wherever books are sold, and my email is fhardwicke with a silent E @childresshospital.com.
Thank you again, Dr. Fred, for being a guest here on Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. And listeners, thank you for spending time with us here as well. We hope that we have enlightened, inspired, and empowered you again today. As always, may the Lord continue to shine His face upon you. May you receive His grace and His mercy in all that we do. Until next time, everyone, remember that you are blessed in the Lord. Have a great day, everyone.